it's B-Rock here for Boxing Disclosure. I'm at the press conference today at the Summer Brawl and I'm with Eddie Hearn. How are you, Eddie?
Very well. I didn't know you actually existed.
Okay.
Because I saw you on Twitter once and you were like really opinionated.
I know, boy.
I thought that might just be like some man pretending to be a woman, because you do get people who do things like that. So welcome. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah, I know. I've kind of calmed that down a little bit, but I am a fan, obviously, originally. And Eddie Hearn, you are one of the people that they love to hate, don't you?
Yeah, they do. More probably, yeah, they love to hate. They don't really love to love. They love to hate. There's a very thin line between love and hate, I like to think. Because when you're walking through the arenas, Wembley, you know, and everyone's going, Eddie, let's have a photo. Yes, Eddie. Yes, Eddie. And then you go on the mic and everyone goes, boo. And think, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
I swear I just had a photo with you. So yeah, it's all good. You can't be loved by everyone. So my mum loves me.
But the thing is as well, though, because I hear, obviously listen to the podcasts and things, you are really good at your job, you know. And people are saying now that you are the best promoter in the world. Yeah. Would you say that?
Yes, I would, yes. And it's not because I'm exceptional, I mean I am, but I don't think the others are very good. So I shouldn't really give the game away, but I think we're good in what we do. I can definitely be better. There's things we need to work at, we need to improve in many areas. But I just think the other promoters aren't like that great, or they're out of touch. But people like Frank Warren, my dad, they can't understand the audience. It's simple. They probably know more about boxing than me, but they can't understand the audience. And the people like on the podcast and stuff like that, they're the real hardcore. You know, you're probably hardcore as well. But that's a tiny part of the boxing picture. Still an important part because they're the loudest voices. But they hate the fact that, you know, our events are more like a night out, more like for the casual, as they call them. You know, oh, it's just I play music and everyone's there getting drunk to watch the box. Yeah, it is. It's just the same as the darts. You know, you have to provide an experience for a fan. And they have to be engrossed by the fights and the personalities. You have to build rivalries. But at the end of the day, if people are spending their money, they want to go out and have a good time. And that's what we provide at our events, better than I think anyone else. But I think it's a really interesting time in boxing right now. There's a little bit of a transition between the names that you've seen in the sport over the last sort of 3 years, who are coming to the final kind of phases of their careers. Don't mean that disrespectfully, it's just fact, like 3 to 5 fights, and then you've got all the youth coming through. So you've got the new cycle of Olympians coming through, and I think we're in such a great position with our stable, stronger than it's ever been. But now we've got to move the early level guys through, the mid-level guys, to have real fights, championship fights. Because the one thing that people don't like is gimme fights, you know. But sometimes it's a necessity. It's just going to happen. But we've got to push as hard as we can to give real fights and to make sure that they don't watch one-sided fights. But they're going to see them. They still need to understand. They're going to see them. Like for instance, Joshua Buatsi on Saturday. He'll probably go in, knock his guy out in the second round, third round. Someone will go, he was rubbish as a opponent. It's like, mate, it's his debut. Just like, you've got to build them in the right way. Some opponents aren't good enough, but generally we know what we're doing, and these guys are going to get there faster than the average guy because of the experience they've got.
No, brilliant. I was going to touch on that, but you answered that question during it, so it's absolutely fine. Obviously with the stable as well, will you, obviously Isaac Chamberlain and Lawrence Sokoli, I mean, are you going to put them together? Are you going to get all the mix within your, in the whole stable, if you like?
They have to. I'm looking to make a lot of interstable fights, if you want, because we've got so many fighters, so much talent, and people want to see it as well. I mean, Lawrence Sokoli against Isaac Chamberlain is a great example. You could put them in next month, or you could put them in 6, 8, 10 months. We could make that a big fight. You know, that's the kind of fight that in time for a British title could be an 0-2 fight. You know, but at the moment it's a York Hall fight because one's 3-0 and the other one's 8-0. So we've got to build that in the right way. I know what I'm doing. I know how to build these kind of fights, because especially when you've got natural ingredients. That's what I was saying about Ward Kovalev, right? How can that do 130,000 buys? You've got 2 top pound-for-pound fighters, 1 great fight, or pretty good fight, that you're going to have a rematch for, and 2 guys that hate each other. You've got all the ingredients in there. It's not hard, it's easy. Give me something like that. I'll do 300,000-400,000 buys in the States. But when you've got like a Coley and Chamberlain, it's really straightforward, but you learn over time. Like yesterday, you know, it all started kicking off a little bit, and it felt like you know, Chisora Whyte, AJ against Dylan, you know, all those things that I've seen it before 100 times. So I just say to both guys, you know, don't worry. No. Oh,
is that
I want to let me know which one.
The Chisora Dylan one, is that going to happen?
I don't think so, no, because Dylan wants to fight for a world title. That's what he wants more than anything, and I want to give him that fight. Chisora wants to fight him. The people would like to see Chisora Whyte again, but I understand Dylan's position, which is I want to fight for a world title. If there isn't a shot at a world title, then he needs to fight a final eliminator to become a mandatory, and that's not Chisora again. But you have to actually respect that, because the biggest money fight out there for Dylan, outside of Wilder and Parker potentially, is Chisora. He can make a lot of money for that rematch. But he's made a lot of money, you know, against Chisora the first time, against AJ as well. He knows the path that he wants, and AJ wants to fight Dylan again, and AJ against Dylan for 2 belts, or what could be 3 or 4 belts, is massive. And I would like to get him in with Deontay Wilder. I would like to get him in with Joseph Parker, but he wants to carve out that shot at a world title, and that doesn't come through beating Chisora. But we also have to understand people want to see it. It's a big money fight, so we can't just ignore it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You just mentioned all of them, so that's really good. But to finish off then, I want to find out, I don't know if the guys do one at home, but what did you do before? Have you always been a promoter, or did you come from sales? Because it's such a good background.
Yeah, so I started in double glazing. This is not a lie, actually. No, this is true. So, but that was when I was like, I went to school at Brentwood School, and I left there. I wasn't great academically. We got about 6 GCSEs between A to C, and then a few more like D's and E's, which didn't really count at the time. And I had to leave Brentwood, and then I went to a college, sort of Romford way, sort of borderline East London. And basically, if you didn't turn up to class, they didn't really care. Like, it was up to you. And I think that's what I didn't have at the other school, because I was in a private school and people were telling me what to do, and I was probably like a bit of a spoiled kid, and I just thought, fucking tell me, you know, I just want to play sport, that's all I want to do. At college, you either turned up or you sat downstairs and messed around. It was up to you. So once I realised, didn't even get told off, I actually thought, this is all right, this is. So I started going to college. I got 3 good A-levels at college. But while I was doing that, I was working for a company called Weatherseal Windows in Romford. Shout out to Weatherseal Windows in Romford. And I was selling double glazing. So I would go in there after college about 4 o'clock till about 7 o'clock. They'd give me a yellow pages or a phone book. So a phone book, sorry, yeah. And I would just get on a phone and I would phone up. I'd try and do sort of 8 or 10 pages, or as many as I could in that period, trying to sell people double glazing, or get a meeting for one of our teams to go round and talk to them about double glazing, which is a really good learning experience, because 99.9% of the time people are swearing at you and abusing you, which is a bit like social media now, really. That's why I don't really like. For me, it's quite funny, yeah. So I did that, and then when I finished my A-levels, I went to work for a sports marketing company. Did that for 4 years. Then I went to a company called LEA Ladorum, which was a sports management company, which was run by Duncan Goodhue. And I started representing golfers on the PGA and European Tour. So I was a sports agent, a bit like Jerry Maguire, but obviously much better looking. And yeah, and I did that. I was in America and across the European Tour for 6 or 7 years. Then I moved to Matchroom, to my dad's business, and I started up the online gaming division, the poker. So I did all the televised poker tournaments you saw on all the TV stations, Channel 4, Sky Sports, Channel 5. Yeah, I do play a lot of poker, yeah. And then that was when I met Audley Harrison. So I bumped into him at the World Series of Poker. We started doing prize fighter. I took him to the European, we won prize fight. I took him to European title, took him to the David Hay fight. That didn't go too well, and then I thought I'd never work in boxing again. And then on the Monday, my phone didn't stop with fighters saying, I've seen what you've done with Audley, please, let's work together. Signed a load of fighters, and then away we go. So, but from a boxing sense, went to my first show at 9, and followed Eubank around the world, followed Naz around the world, followed Herbie Hyde around the world, was at every major show that my dad did. Been watching live boxing for nearly 30 years. So people sort of think, oh, Eddie, what does he know about boxing? The answer is a lot more than most of you watching this and giving me stick on social media. But it's the balance between being a boxing fan and guiding very good young fighters into positions to do well for themselves, to achieve, to win major titles. And not every move that you make for the benefit of that fighter will suit a fan or, you know, a hardcore fan or a follower or a podcast guy. So sometimes I say to him, you just have to trust me, I know what I'm doing. And I'm not perfect, we'll make mistakes along the way, but generally I know what I'm doing. So everything's for a reason. Some fights don't live up to expectation, that's boxing, but trust me when I say the future is so bright in terms of the young talent coming through. Just enjoy it and watch it and get ready for the new season, because we've got a lot of big plans.